Hey, listen guys, this next week, my team is going to be out in Chandler, Arizona at the OAKTREE non-QM headquarters. Since we're on the topic, have you checked out their DSCR loan? They've been doing this longer than anybody. They qualify the property more so than the person, meaning if that investment property's rents are 75% of the mortgage payment, you got 15% down, you're in. They got the best pricing. They've been doing this longer than anybody. You could do it on a 40-year note with a 10-year interest-only period on it. I'm telling you right now, I would go find multi-unit properties with a real estate agent, find the properties, find the one that pencils first, and then back your way into who's gonna get the opportunity to buy that. There is so much money and opportunity with these DSCR loans, and nobody does them better than OAKTREE. Check them out. If you wanna hook up with us next week when we head out to OAKTREE's headquarters in Chandler, Arizona, just send us a message. We would love to see you. On with the show. Oh, and by the way, we're getting close to pushing 100 people on our March Madness pool, which is going to start, I believe, this upcoming Thursday. So make sure you download yours so you can see how you work against us. We are paying out for the top 5 positions. With the person who wins our pool, we are gonna fly our entire film crew out to your headquarters, and we're gonna shoot some videos with you guys. Anyways, it turns out that Wells Fargo turned down about half of the refinances that were submitted by African Americans. Wells Fargo approved 72% of white applicants, 67% of Asian applicants, 53% of Hispanic applicants, and 47% of African American applicants. And this is according to Bloomberg. So it appears that Wells Fargo turned down more than half of its black applicants. Clearly, the insinuation of this Bloomberg article is that Wells Fargo turned down the loans based on the person's ethnicity. Being black means the mortgage system is inherently biased against you, thus there's more declines. The thing is, I keep going back to the fact, and the fact is virtually every facet of a mortgage is now automated, and approvals and denials are the result of the data, the math that is input into the automated underwriting system. There's not a lot of room for people making decisions with mortgages these days. When it comes to the appraisals for refinances, which there's been a lot of suggestions as of recently that appraisals are inherently biased against African Americans. But in the case of refinances, most of those appraisals are desktop or, once again, automated appraisals, taking the person out of the element. And of course, you have your credit scores. Those are automated. Your verifications of deposits, employment, and even your 4506T from the IRS to verify income and employment history is also all automated. It makes you wonder why you need a loan officer in the first place, doesn't it? Well, here's a hint. It's for marketing and mortgage rainmaking. A loan officer is really an outside sales position right now. The sooner loan officers figure this out, the more successful you're gonna be. But back to the point. Virtually everything on a loan is automated without human decision making. Let's compare Wells Fargo to the rest of the industry. The mortgage industry as a whole outside of Wells Fargo approved 87% of white applicants, or they approved 15% more whites than Wells Fargo did. The industry approves 85% of Asians, or 32% more than Wells Fargo did. The industry approved 79% of Hispanics, or a whopping 47% more than Wells did. And the industry approved 71% of African Americans, which is 25% more than what Wells Fargo did. Okay, so a couple of observations here. One, Wells Fargo clearly has overlays on their mortgage products that is more critical, more strict than the industry norms. Why? Well, simply because Wells Fargo approves loans at a lower clip of all ethnicities, not just African Americans. Further, if Bloomberg were to write an article about the disparity amongst mortgage loan approvals based on ethnicity, it appears on the surface that it should come from the standpoint of Hispanics, not African Americans. Why? Well, because Hispanics get approved 47% less than white people, and African Americans are 25% less than whites. Meaning, on the surface, Hispanics are nearly twice as likely to have their loans turned down than African Americans. Yet, looking at this from the standpoint of the rest of the mortgage industry versus Wells Fargo only tells part of the story. In truth, there's so much more at play in this story that simply drawing a reasonable and rational conclusion is far more involved than the Bloomberg article has the bandwidth to cover, and even me for purposes of this show. So it really kind of might make you wonder, doesn't it? Is Bloomberg going for sensationalism rather than finding out the truth with mortgage approvals based on ethnicity? But moving on. If we were to add credit scores force to the equation of Wells Fargo approvals versus the rest of the industry, then it would appear that Asians should have the biggest gripe. Why? According to the US Census Bureau, the average score of a white person is 734. Asians are 745, or 11 points higher than that of whites. Hispanics' average scores are 701. African Americans' average scores are 677. Okay, so Asians have scores on average that are 11 points higher than their white counterpart, yet their loans are approved on average 15% less likely than that of whites. Yikes, this seems to be a problem. It's starting to sound like these algorithms that we're talking about need a little adjusting. Now, Hispanics have an average credit score of 701, which is above the 700 threshold, but Hispanics are a whopping 47% less likely to get their loans approved than those of white people. Now, you might say, well, you know, the score is lower and that accounts for something, but 47% less than whites, that stat screams very loud that there might be a problem here. Now, African Americans have credit scores that average 677, or 56 points lower than whites, yet their loans are only turned down at a rate 25% lower than that of whites. So guys, Hispanics are approved 47% less frequently with scores that are significantly higher than African Americans. It seems like this might be the biggest problem. Now, of course, there's other variables. For example, amongst Hispanic community, what are the percentage of jobs that are labor-based jobs versus African Americans who have more municipal and civil servant type of jobs? Those jobs, municipal and civil servant jobs, have more grounded employment, which is easier for mortgage qualification purposes, more so than labor jobs, which could be transient in nature. So employment is probably a major factor here too that skews refinance approval numbers against Hispanics. Then of course there's the issue of appraisals, but as we stated, when it comes to refinances over the past couple of years, especially with COVID, most of those have been desktop or algorithm-based appraisals rather than having an actual human being that can bring any of their individual inherent biases to their opinion of value on that appraisal. So it seems that we have to check appraisal value off the list of possibilities for the inconsistencies here when it comes to approving loans. But here's what we do know. Mortgage approvals, by and large, everything is automated at this point with very little, if any, human decision making taking place. Lenders get paid when they make mortgages, so it stands to reason that self-interest means lenders are looking for reasons to say yes, not no. And finally, when it comes to getting a mortgage, Wells Fargo seems to have more strict underwriting guidelines for all ethnicities, not just African Americans. Meaning if you want to get your loan approved, I mean, do the math. Maybe we want to go somewhere not called Wells Fargo. Yet when it comes to getting approved, it appears that the industry, if anything, is more critical of Asians and Hispanics over African Americans. If we don't like the outcome of mortgage approvals, and guys, I get it, there is a disparity here. We do need to fix something. But what we don't need to necessarily do is change the people. What we do need to do is we might need to change the algorithms for what we use to qualify everybody so that we can tighten up or shorten that wealth gap that we have right now. It's just food for thought. What do you think about these very sensitive issues? Let us know in the comments down below. With that said, you guys make it a great day, and I can't wait to see you tomorrow, and I hope to see you next week in Chandler, Arizona. Maybe Scottsdale, who knows? Maybe at a baseball game. You guys want to go to a baseball game with us? Let us know. Just reach out. Have a good day.